What's up YouTube? I'm Danielle, and this is Kitchen Optimist. I'm a novice cook, but expert eater, taking on recipes that scare the salt out of me, 1 teaspoon at a time. Today we're dipping our toe back into appetizers. I'm gonna put my hand up on your hip when I dip you dip we dip style. No, not hummus, although I would quite happily ruin my meal with it with 0 questions asked. Instead, I'm trying my hand at hummus's older, cooler cousin. Smoky, more experienced, a bit mysterious. Maybe gave her her first tube of red lipstick, introduced her to clove cigarettes, or, as most people know it, baba ganoush. I'll be using the recipe from cookieandkate.com. I'm new to the site, but it is her epic baba ganoush and has a lot of positive reviews. As always, links will be below. Step 1, heat your oven. I've already turned my oven on to preheat to 450, and while it does that, I'll start prepping the ingredients. The recipe calls for 2 pounds of eggplant, and she specifies that it is better to get 2 1-pound eggplants rather than 1 2-pound eggplant, as the bigger they are, the more bitter they tend to be. Like I mentioned, smoky is a key flavor profile of the dish when done right, which can be achieved by grilling or roasting the eggplant. I, like Cookies and Kate, do not have a grill, so roasting it is. And she says to put your rack on the upper third of the oven, which I've also done. We're now brushing the cut side of our eggplant with olive oil. We're now guaranteeing that we're going to fill our house with smoke because olive oil has a low smoke point, and I now have extra on the pan. I have literally no idea how much oil I put on each slice, somewhere between half a teaspoon and a tablespoon. Now into the oven it goes to roast for 35 to 40 minutes until the center is very tender and the skin is collapsing in on itself. Gross. Oh shit, you can't trust me to do anything. It's supposed to be cut side down. It was only in for a minute. That's why we have parchment paper on, because it's supposed to prevent the eggplant from sticking to the pan. Take 2. While that roasts, we'll go ahead and prep the rest of the ingredients, which includes 2 medium cloves of garlic, pressed or minced. I'm gonna go with minced. The only other time I've made eggplant, it turned out super mushy. Feel free to let me know in the comments what I probably did wrong. So I shouldn't be worried about this because mushy is one of the key components of this dip. She calls for 2 tablespoons of fresh flat leaf parsley plus more for garnish. I have a minimum of 17 minutes left to go. My parsley is chopped, my garlic is minced, the rest of my ingredients are ready and waiting. See you soon. I checked the eggplant at 35 minutes and I had pockets of skin collapsing, but probably not critical mass, so I put it back in for another 5. Well, the skin is collapsing in. It feels pretty soft to my untrained eye. It's a little charred, which I hope will give us our smoky flavor. I'm gonna let this cool a bit because I've already burned myself on this pan once today, and that's more than enough. Okay, we're mildly caffeinated. The pan is cool to the touch. Scooping the eggplant, ooh, that is still quite warm. Scooping the eggplant out, leaving the skin behind. Now I'm gonna let this still steaming eggplant drain a bit so that I don't have sad, runny baba ganoush. Also because that's what the directions say. Minced garlic, check. The juice of 1 lemon, possibly more. So she says you can do this in a food processor, but don't need to. The eggplant does break apart quite easily, and it's 1 fewer gadget needed to make a dish. So I haven't done a scientific study, but I bet that more people have forks than have food processors. It's a bit stringy. I'm actually supposed to stir it vigorously until the eggplant breaks down. It still seems pretty stringy. I need a 1/4 cup of tahini, which is organic ground toasted sesame seeds and salt. I think tahini was probably the biggest fear factor in this dish for me, probably because I didn't realize you could just buy it in a store. My mom used to just make it herself, and I don't have a grinder. I didn't want to deal with all of that. Ooh, that is watery. That seems like something that should be stirred up. Yes, so tahini separates significantly. This is the stage that we're at. This measuring cup gets a lot of use, so my third mark is a bit of a suggestion now. So now I'm to drizzle this in while stirring. I kind of need a third hand here. Give it one more zest, as my mom would say. So the mixture is supposed to be pale and creamy, and I'm to be using my fork to break up any long strings of eggplant. I think I've done that. Now a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin. Oh, love the smell of cumin. And starting with 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, but she also says more to taste. And add in my parsley. That's really lemon forward. Most of what I taste is the lemon in the tahini. Just gonna do it. We're at 2 total teaspoons salt. So let's transfer a little to a small container, just so we can get nice and close up. Here is our final product. I'm not a huge pita chip fan. I guess that's not true. Maybe it's that I'm too much of a pita chip fan and I don't want to house an entire bag of them. So I just got some carrots. My dog loves carrots, so he's waiting at my feet. Yeah. I know, you need to sit on the floor to have it, and I'm shoving you off. Okay. Here you go. Now if you hear some crunching that does not match up with my mouth, you'll know why. So final verdict. I think I've probably had smoother baba ganoush previously, so texturally, not sure I love the long fibers, even though I did my best to break them up with a fork. You should still expect that if you're not using a food processor, you will still have some of these tendrils. Mine doesn't really taste that smoky. It tastes very lemony. It's possible that I just got a really juicy lemon, so that whole lemon was a little too much. The tahini is still a really prominent flavor. My dog now wants another carrot. Bye. I wouldn't call this epic. I'm not gonna lie. It's fine. I'll eat it. I'm not mad I made it. I will not make this recipe again. I think probably more garlic, more smokiness. Maybe I'm just missing a grill. Would serve it to people, but wouldn't be particularly proud of doing it. Usually I say, oh, maybe I did something wrong. This is pretty straightforward and pretty easy, so shame on me for being afraid of it for so long, but kind of unremarkable. I'll eat it. It's inoffensive, but a tiny bit blandish. Maybe more cumin also. I didn't put the paprika for garnish on. We can do that now. We'll see if it makes a difference. It looks pretty. Now it just tastes like lemony, paprika-y tahini mush. So that was not the missing ingredient. The pros are it's easy to do, it's seemingly hard to mess up. The cons are it is an unremarkable recipe. I'm gonna call this a sophomore year recipes. Freshman year, you're all excited, you're in high school, it's a whole different ballgame. Junior year, it's the first year you have your own prom, you're doing college trips, maybe. You can't wait for senior year. Senior year, you are almost an adult. You can almost vote, you probably have a later curfew, some schools are allowed off campus, you're about to leave home. Sophomore year is just sort of in there in the middle. You gotta get through it. You don't have huge memories of it. That's kind of what this is. I'll get through it, I'll enjoy it well enough, and I won't remember it. Taste is subjective. You might have this and think it's totally epic, and that's great. It just isn't to me. No shade to Cookie and Kate, because I don't know how to create a recipe, and as you've seen in any number of other videos, I barely know how to follow them. It just won't be one that I return to. If you want to try it out, it'll be linked below. So start to finish, including cooling time, it took 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 58 seconds. The ingredients, without the carrots, were $28.93. With, it jumped all the way up to $30.92. All the equipment needed was $98.03, which puts it all together at $128.95. As always, if you own some of the kitchen equipment, if you have some of the ingredients in your pantry, those costs go down. Those are if you were starting from scratch prices. Anyway, I tried something new. I didn't burn the house down. I didn't hurt myself. I didn't poison anyone. All of these things are wins in my book. I'm Danielle, this is Kitchen Optimist, fighting the good fight for mediocre cooks everywhere. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget, stay salty.